think like drinking a beer on TV would be like a negative thing, but it's just like, no, let's show Kate doing this. It's like, I think that it was a great look.
Oh, thank you for saying that. We had home court advantage, and it was the first game of the playoffs, and like the playoffs just have a different atmosphere. You know, the Wells Fargo Center is always rocking, but it goes up to another level. And I was running up the stairs, and we're usually like high-fiving people, and I'm crazy stupid, so I'm yelling, "Let's go Sixers!" And I'm just being a weirdo like I always am. And this dude is just standing in the aisle with a fresh pint, and it really felt like, I used to run track and field. It felt like he was just passing me the baton. He actually had no clue what hit him. He was looking in a completely different direction, but I just grabbed it. I didn't drink the whole thing.
Hey, that cost $12.
I didn't drink exactly. I was like, "Sorry, bro, I'll give you 20. Don't worry about it." And I just took a big swig and then continued yelling. And I should have known. Again, there's cameras everywhere these days, but I was just in the moment and going up, crushed our open. Let's call the first playoff game of the season. And yes, apparently a couple of people took pictures. And note to selfie: going to do something like that, guys, this especially applies to you. Don't wear a bright pink blazer.
Welcome back to the BrewedAt podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum.
Hello, hello.
And today we have on voice of the Sixers, voice of Madden, Kate Scott, the one and only.
What's up,
Welcome.
guys? It's so awesome to be here. I'm a fan of both of yours and the podcast and beer, so this is going to be a fun day.
Awesome. Yeah, so big fan of you and what you're doing with the Sixers, but then I didn't realize how into beer you were.
Yes.
So I don't know, I think Evan connected with you at some point, but we're like, we have to have Kate on. We saw
you followed us at some point. I was like, holy shit. So classically, I'm sure you...
I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just throwing back beers. It was one of those nights. No, I've been a fan, so.
That's so cool to hear. And then we're messaging around. We're like, well, we got to reach out. Yeah. So and you thankfully said yes. So now we're here. So it's so cool.
I appreciate you guys giving me a little time after the season ended.
Yes, it's still a bit busy.
As we all know. Let's drink to that, the season ending last year.
Yes,
Cheers.
exactly.
Cheers. We made it through.
Cheers.
Sixers fans.
Uphill. We're all up from here.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for giving me some time, and excited to get into this tonight.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess we've seen you on a couple episodes of What's Brewing PA.
Yeah.
So that's very fun. And I didn't realize how, into beer you were. You talked about beer, that you were into craft beers in college, which is not normal.
It was not.
No, but I've heard your story a lot about you basically been trailblazing your way through the sports broadcasting world. Can you talk? We're going to talk about obviously the Sixers.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about beer today,
which I'm really excited about.
Yes.
I get caught. I hate talking about myself, which probably sounds weird, but that's one of my favorite things about doing play-by-play, because I'm telling everybody else's story. I'm not talking about me. Mm-hmm. I understand why folks are interested in my story, my broadcasting story, but I'm really excited to get into the beer story tonight. So ask away.
Cool. So I guess, how did you get? You were in Northern California.
Yeah.
How did you get? What was your entry into craft beer?
Yeah. So that was a big part of it, being in Northern California. So I didn't grow up in Northern California. I grew up in Central California. But then I went to the Bay Area for college. I went to UC Berkeley, a.k.a. Cal.
Yeah.
And was living with a couple of girlfriends my junior year. And one of my girlfriends' moms was super into craft beer. Lived in Portland, Oregon, which is, as you guys know, a big craft brewery spot. And I thought she was a badass. She was like a partner at a law firm, had been a single mom to my friend, and just loved her craft beer. So I asked my friend, as you guys probably get a sense of from the broadcast, I at time to time like to kiss up and try to get in good with folks. So I was like, okay, your mom's coming to town. Like, what can I bring her? Would I bring her flowers or something? She's like, no, we got to get my mom some Chimay. And I was like, what's Chimay? Right? Cool. But I was telling you guys before we got started, my least favorite thing, the only thing I really don't like about Pennsylvania is you can't buy alcohol just at the grocery store, because the Trader Joe's, especially in the Bay Area, right when they were taking off, they had this amazing craft beer section, and you could just buy individual either pints or 12, 18 ounces, whatever. And they had the whole Chimay selection. I had never seen it before. So anyway, got her some Chimay. That made Mom very happy. And then she was like, have you tried the other Chimays? And I was like, what are you talking about? There's others? She's like, well, there's the red label and the blue label. And that just kind of piqued my interest. Like, I love learning. That's one of the reasons I call all the sports. I love learning new things. So I was like, this is a subject I'm now interested in because I love beer. And I didn't know that there was so many different kinds and producers of it. So that kind of got me.
Did you like Chimay when you first drank it? That's a tough beer to jump into.
Right? I think I faked my way into liking it at first because it wasn't right.
Exactly.
It wasn't a transitionary beer to get you into it. But again, like there was this badass woman who was drinking it. So I was like, okay, this is a beer that I will teach myself to drink.
Yeah.
And then after did some tastings and obviously started with some lighter beers and then got into that. Then I just like everything now.
So I heard on What's Brewing PA that you actually brought beer in your last final.
That was very true. Yes, my last final. So getting into UC Berkeley was like a big deal to me. I was never one of the kids who was just instant genius. I don't have a photographic memory. School was hard for me.
You seem like you have a photographic memory.
I wish, because a lot of play-by-play announcers do, and it makes the job much easier to like look at a stat once and then remember it on air.
Can you tell from like a broadcasting like point who has like that type of photographic memory?
I mean, I know now, knowing so many play-by-play announcers that we all know, like Kenny Albert, who calls every sport all the time, right, has called so many hockey games and NFL for Fox for 30 years. Like Kenny has a photographic memory.
Yeah.
Like, that makes sense. That's why he can call 4 sports in the same season and know everything about every team because he looks at it once. Anyway, that was not me. So that was a long way of saying I was really proud of myself for making it through this really difficult college because there was a lot of geniuses at UC Berkeley, which was fascinating for me. So I made it to my last final, and I was like, I think I'm a little bit older than you guys, but Nalgene bottles were all the rage back then.
Yep.
Not the cool bottles that we have now that weigh 45 pounds. And that was like the colored Nalgene bottles. So I had a blue Nalgene, so I was like, my professor's not going to know what kind of liquid is in here. So one of the craft beers, even though it wasn't really, but it was Newcastle at Trader Joe's at the time, and I was like a big EPL fan. Alan Shearer was a guy that I liked to cheer for, and I was like, I'm getting a Newcastle brown ale and putting it in my Nalgene and taking it to my last final. So, and it was fun, and I made sure to pass it down the row, and I was like, you guys, it's not water. So yeah, so that's again like. There wasn't and still doesn't appear to be as many women into beer as I think there is. And I think that's one of the, again, I brought this in Tara's book. I know you guys had her on recently, but I actually picked that up before you guys had her on, and it just felt kind of like kismet and party.
Yeah.
It was like, then I watched her episode. And I was like, there's so many similarities between being a woman in sports and especially a female play-by-play announcer and like women who are into beer, that they've been here forever and really love it. But for some reason, we just have this stereotype that guys love sports and women don't, and guys love beer and women don't. So I feel a lot of, camaraderie with women who are into beer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's similar to sports. Beer is something that brings people together.
Totally.
So
yeah, that's another reason. That's another reason I like it, and that it's a low alcohol content most of the time. Obviously, there's a lot of ass kickers, face kickers these days, especially because of the craft brew movement. But that's one of the reasons that I love beer is that you can usually try a bunch of different ones. So if you want to have every friend bring their favorite beer, and you can go around and do a tasting, and you're still coherent at the end of the night. So you can remember what you tasted, and you can remember the great conversation you had. So yeah, just another reason I love beer.
Yeah, it was hard for me to get into like scotch or whiskey or anything. For me, it's just like it's too much effort. It's just like
Totally. It's taken me a long time to get into that as well, but maybe in another episode.
Yeah.
We can do some bourbons and whiskeys and scotches.
Definitely. So after college, like you went to college for broad communications and broadcasting, right?
I did, yeah. I didn't know play-by-play was what I wanted to do, and I really went to UC Berkeley just because I fell in love with it when I toured it, and I knew that it was so different from where I grew up. I grew up in a really small, conservative town in the Central California area, and then to go to this like crazy place where so much history as far as politics and culture in the entire country, if not the world, was. I was like, this feels really different. I want to try this.
Yeah.
And then just the fact that they had a decent communications program, like not by any means Temple and Syracuse and Northwestern, and you hear these big programs that a lot of famous broadcasters go to. Did not give myself that leg up, but if you fall in love with a place and they have, a decent communications program, you can make stuff work.
Well, it worked out.
It worked out okay.
So I guess I have some personal questions for you. So it's you're obviously an amazing talker, I guess. Like you have an amazing voice. So Evan and I still don't know how to talk. I still mess up people's names.
You guys are faking it well, though. Really well.
Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it. But like, what's the process like? Were you always very articulate, like growing up? Like, were you a natural speaker? Were you a natural public speaker, or was this something that you were like in college? You were like pushing to? Because I am not a naturally good speaker.
Yeah.
And it's something like we definitely have gotten better since the podcast has started. Totally. But like, how was it? Was it just?
That's
how do you get better?
question,
You just
Richie.
practice it?
Yeah. Nobody's asked me that before. Surprising. Great question.
Surprising.
Yeah. People have asked me like specifically about my voice, but just as far as being able to speak for a long time and not stumble too much. I think it's
Is that what communication school is? Like, do you practice talking in college?
So it depends. Every communication school is different. When I went to Cal, like the cool thing was marketing because Mad Men was all the rage. One of the reasons I got onto the brown liquors. So like marketing and PR was what everyone wanted to do at that time in communications. So smart colleges kind of shift what they're teaching.
Yeah.
So my comms program was really theory based. So it was really like reading about communications and like watching different news programs and critiquing them and stuff. So there was a radio station and there wasn't a TV station yet. So it wasn't a lot of hands-on stuff. And yeah, as far as speaking in public, I think I've always been comfortable. But it has taken a lot of practice. I like to say, just like the athletes that I cover, I was not able to speak this clearly and this confidently and this continuously at the start at all. I started, like a lot of the broadcasters, men and women that I look up to in television, I started in radio, which I think does give you a leg up because...
You're forced to learn how to speak like that?
You got to talk.
Yeah.
Or if you're hosting a show, 2 to 4 hours straight, and you got to keep it interesting, and you can't be stumbling and bumbling over your words, or people are going to change the channel, right? But I definitely was a stumbling, bumbling mess when I first started, and I got good advice, which was make your last mistake your last mistake. And at first, you're going to have 5 mistakes in a 30-second sports update. And then, as you get better and better, hopefully you'll have 1 every 3 updates. And then you'll get to a point where you can just do it smoothly. So it's really just been repetition. And I took voiceover classes as well. Not the same as like vocal lessons as singing, but just your voice is an instrument. So learning how to utilize that instrument and how if you're standing up versus sitting down, your voice can sound different. If you move your hands differently, if you're smiling versus not having a facial expression, your voice sounds different. So I think all of those things and just the repetition helped me get here.
We had Josh Shapiro on a couple months ago, and he was the same way. It was just like listening to him talk was like, you're much better at communication.
I think politicians, and especially politicians who are so good at speaking so distinctly and confidently and in shorter sound bites. I mean, that's one of the things my mom said before coming on this. She's like, Kate, I know the podcast culture has ruined everybody. Can you shorten your answers, girl? And I was like, I'll try, Mom. But Josh and so many people are so good at, succinctly in 20 seconds getting their point across and doing it. And you're just like in rapture with what they're saying.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I guess you worked. You had the longest resume I've ever seen in my entire life. You worked at I think every single outlet in the Bay Area.
Yes, I did.
And I was in like when you came to the Sixers, like I thought that like you had probably been like all over the country. You had been like just only kind of in the Bay Area before you moved out here.
Mostly the Bay was where I was based, but did call a ton of West Coast sports. So I worked for kind of the main full-time job before I got the Sixers job was working for the Pac-12 network. Rest in peace, Pac-12. But that was traveling to the Oregon schools, the Washington schools, Arizona, Colorado, Utah. So like Western United States. And I was also calling some A-10 basketball for the NBC Sports Network, also rest in peace. So that was, like Richmond. And that was actually my first trip to Philadelphia was calling an A-10 women's game at St. Joe's a number of years ago.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool how this has all come together again. I'm very I think the Berkeley girl in me comes out sometimes, and I'm like, that's really cool, man. That like first time I was in Philly, it was called a basketball game, and now I'm back here. I don't know where these voices come from, but you know, when you drop into someplace for like 36 hours and you just know your hotel and the arena you're going to for a game or a concert, and then you leave. I had no idea where I had stayed in the city that time, and I had no idea where St. Joe's was or Hawk Hill, and I had my first cheesesteak, and I was like, where did I go? You know, so now being back, I put it all together. So it's pretty cool.
Do you remember what that first cheesesteak was?
It was right across from St. Joe's, so I should have known the name off the top of my head before.
I mean, right over there is...
It was a decent steak, though.
Chubby's and D'Alessandro's are close. They're not right next to St. Joe's.
It's across the river, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wish it was D'Alessandro's. I wish I could say that. My first one after I got the Sixers job was J.R. Aquila, who was our producer when I first got hired. Took me to Jim's on South Street, which I felt like was a good first one.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Yeah, pretty classic.
No disrespect to Pat's and Gino's, but disrespect to Pat's and Gino's. So, I got a steak from Jim's, and then I got a Yards Pale Ale, and I was like, all right, here we go, Philly.
There's definitely levels to it.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess when Mark, so you took over for Mark Zumoff.
I did.
That
Stupidest thing I've done in my career.
Yes.
Try to take over for a legend who's been there for 40 years, also was born and raised in the area. No pressure.
Funniest thing, he's actually my next door neighbor down the shore.
Stop it.
Yeah, he
really?
is. He is. I see him walk his dog all the time.
I mean, he's the nicest guy. He and his wife, Deb, and their kids. And so blessing to take over for him, but also incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you came in, you got the shortest stick ever coming in, moving from California to Philadelphia.
Totally.
I'm assuming in the winter to take over for basketball, and then you take over from a legend where you're just coming in with so much hate from everybody, whether you're good or not. It's just you came out and took over a legend.
Totally. It's not going to matter. Yeah, you guys probably know this. Everybody probably knows this. You never want to be the person who takes over for the person. You want to be the person who takes over for the person who took over for the person. So you can let them deal with all of that. But when a job like this comes available, I mean, once in a lifetime, if that, especially with it being like that's any NBA job, but then the fact that it was the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I still remember in my interview when they asked, Philadelphia 76ers, what do you know about the Sixers? And I was like, are you kidding? Like, I know I'm just a chick from California, but there is like 4 or 5 teams when you think of the NBA globally, and you can be anywhere in the world, right? And you're thinking of the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics, and depending on if they suck or not, the New York Knicks, right? And then you're probably thinking of the Lakers and the Bulls, and then the last 10, 15 years, the Warriors and a few other teams, right? But there's like 5 or 6 teams where if you have that logo on and you go anywhere in the world, somebody's going to look at you and be like, hey, go Sixers, man. What? That was one of those teams.
It's one of the big names, but also the market, the sports market in Philadelphia is a little bit different.
It's so good, crazy, wild, insane. No, it's one of one. It's one of one.
Like it.
No, it's one of one because I know New York fans are intense, but I think there's a lot of New Yorkers born and raised, right? But I don't know if as many as Philly. I think there's a lot of folks who move to New York from all over the world and then become Knicks fans and Giants or Jets, whoever they're cheering for. But there's
not a Delco of New York.
There is not. But Philly folks, like born and raised, have kids. Their kids are, raised. You all multiply and you all like stay here. That was one of the things that just cracked me up. Almost everybody, maybe everybody on the Sixers crew, at NBC Philly, they're all like born and raised here. They might have gone away to school for a couple years.
Because Mark's from Philly, isn't he?
Totally, yeah. And Tom McGinnis, the radio voice, who I'm good friends with now, he's from Philly. Allah's a Jersey guy. Yep. Literally, our producer, our director, our associate producer, our graphics, like everybody's like, yeah, I'm from this part of Philly. Oh, I'm from this suburb of Philly. Oh, I'm from South Jersey. So. It was certainly intimidating, but also it's been so fun for me because it's going to sound weird, but it feels like I've come home because I loved California, so happy that I spent the first 38 years of my life there, but I was often a little much for the folks in California. Too passionate about my sports teams, too excited to learn about beer and new people, and I was just always craving more. A lot of my family and friends are still there, and I love visiting. But it feels like I have found my people here who just want to lose their minds over booze and food and sports.
Just everything. Yeah. There's something that Philly is just passionate. It's going to be passionate about whatever they're passionate about.
Yeah. It's a great way of putting it.
I think you came in like with this hurdle of, you're the first female NBA announcer. You're taking over for this legend. It was an uphill battle to say the least. But I think the fact that you've won over Philadelphia just makes us kind of love you even more. It's like, not that I'm relating you to Gritty, but everyone hated Gritty when he first came out.
No,
for the first like 3 weeks, they're like,
this comparison,
yes,
Richie.
like who is
Gritty
this?
Awesome.
But it's like the fact that you overcame it. It almost feels like that's part of Philadelphia's story. Like we like an underdog, we like a fighter, and I feel like it's very Philadelphia
and very plugged into basketball. My favorite podcast is The Rights to Ricky Sanchez.
Oh my gosh, those guys! I almost wore my "I Said the Name" shirt tonight, but I decided just to go sports. Would go too.
But like I think the way that you integrated and just like you went there and you got in front of their audience and you won a lot of those people over. It was like,
and I didn't realize at the time like Sixers people didn't really go on that podcast. Like I know Daryl went on a few times.
Yeah, a few.
But I got a lot of "What the blank are you doing?" texts from people. Like that they have talked a lot of shit about you. Like Spike hates you. And I said, okay, like I don't know if we can cuss on this podcast, but like bring it the fuck on has pretty much been the motto for my entire life. Like from the time I was a little kid playing at recess sports against all the guys, and they were like, the girls are playing over there, and I was like, fuck you guys, come on, bring it on. I'm gonna break your ankles. I've always been that chick. So, and I knew, kind of, not to put your podcasts up against each other, but I think it's important when you're a new person in town, and even though this is going to be year 5, I still consider myself new-ish, and I'm sure that there's plenty of people who still don't know who I am, to introduce yourself to different, groups of fans, groups of Philadelphians, whatever. I knew most of the rights to the Ricky folks knew who I was, but I don't think they really got to know me because they had just, heard me that first year. Totally.
Everything that is being talked about in Philly in the little microcosm at the time. So,
and it was hilarious because my neighbors are they have like a ticket package with a bunch of their friends, so they're not there every game. But my neighbor Jeff was like, "Hey Kate, I heard you on the Ricky. You were great." I go, "Jeff, you're a listener?" It's like, "We all listen. That was a great job, man." He's a big guy. He's excited I'm coming on this show too. But yeah, those guys are great. And as far as winning people over, like I came in again. This is a dream of dream jobs. Like it's an NBA job. It's any play-by-play job in a pro sport in the U.S. They come open, right? As evidenced by Mark, every 25 to 40 years.
Yeah.
So they rarely come open. And then to come open for a team or a franchise like the Sixers, even more rare. And then to get a chance to do it, even more rare. So I knew, because of all of those things, it was going to be incredibly difficult. And then the fact that I was taking over for Mark, knew it was going to be difficult. I think my favorite thing is that so many people have come up to me, and I always hear their voices, even though it was only one guy who said it like this, but he was like, "Yo, Kate, fucking hated you when you got here, man. Hated you." He's like, "But it wasn't because you were a chick or because you were gay. It was you were from fucking California. Like, what the hell does she know about Philly?" And he did that. I'm just replicating what he delivered it like, and that was like, I don't know, 45 minutes before Sixers game at the Wells Fargo Center.
Hey, nice
he was
to
like,
meet you.
"Bro, but I love you now, girl. Let's hug it out." And I was like, "Let's hug it out, man. Let's hug it out." But I knew that it was going to be hard, and I have always been bring it on. Like, let me prove it to you day after day after day. And there's always going to be people who don't like me for whatever reason. That's a part of being a public figure, whether it's my voice or my face or my delivery or my cadence, whatever.
Haters.
Exactly. but if you don't have haters, what are you doing?
Exactly.
If you have haters, you're probably doing something right. So.
I think also you bring do the play-by-play, but you bring a lot of personality. It's like
I try to.
You're inserting yourself, and you speak emphatically. It feels like you're like just hanging out with somebody,
That's
which
awesome.
I guess is the goal of it.
Yeah,
but
thanks
it's it feels very real and natural.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what you try to do as a play-by-play. It's always funny listening back to, I'm sure you can listen back to your first podcast, and I listen back to my first broadcast, and it's like you haven't really you haven't found your voice yet.
Yeah,
so you're trying to be other people.
take my headphones
so
out.
there was definitely like broadcaster Kate at the start, like, hello everyone, welcome to the Wells Fargo Center. I'm like, am I calling a WWE match? Am I trying to be Keith Jackson at the Rose Bowl like back in 1960? What is happening here? But that's the hardest thing in broadcasting, is to be yourself. And sometimes I find it especially difficult because everybody I still listen to, for the most part, other than Lisa and Beth and like a few women who do this, are male voices, you know? So it's really easy to hear something they say and say, oh, that sounds really good. Let me try to put it in my voice. And then it just really sounds like Ian Eagle is, you know, calling the game. And you're like, no, be Kate tonight. What are you doing? So thank you for saying that.
And then I guess, should we talk about Madden now?
Yeah, I'm curious though.
Sorry, I don't want to switch gears.
No,
but
feel free.
But yeah, I want to let's start here first, and we can divvy it up a little bit more here through experience. But when you got to Philly,
Yeah.
So what were some of the differences between being West Coast versus East Coast? I guess
Other than the IPAs.
I mean that's the first question.
Yeah, what are the alcohol laws in California? You can just buy any alcohol
Are
anywhere.
there laws in California? Not really sure. No, you can't. There are laws, but you can buy alcohol pretty much anywhere. So I would, as I've mentioned already, shout out to Trader Joe's. I'm so sad that you can't buy alcohol at Costco. Like Costco has great alcohol out in California.
That's such a wild fact to even think about.
Well, apparently in Delaware, the Costco in Delaware. So again, getting back to the neighbors, they're like, if you ever go down to a Blue Coats game, let us know. We'll send you some money, buy us some alcohol. But yeah, you can mostly. There's beer, wine, and spirits at every grocery store. So you go to the grocery store to buy food, and then you can just get all your alcohol. But yeah, the first number of months I was here, I would go to the checkout and I would forget, and they'd be like, "You can only buy 4 bottles of wine." It's like,
What?
Excuse me, what?
Why?
4? Like, I'm not going to drink this all tonight, so I understand your concern, and I appreciate that. But this is for the next month. I just don't want to come back to the store. But now I know that you just go to the Fine Wine and Spirits or whatever, and you get it done. So, yeah, you can buy alcohol anywhere.
Okay, so then West Coast IPA, East Coast IPA.
Different. You know, each have their great traits. I will be honest, I'm not the hugest IPA fan. I drink my IPAs most of the time during the summer when it's really hot out. So I change my beer drinking with the season. So I appreciate that we've got like lagers and pilsners and pale ales and stuff. I like to drink my lighter beers during the summer when it's freaking hot. So I will also have an IPA or two because I find them really refreshing, but they often have a lot more alcohol in them as well. And your girl's getting up there in age, so I don't really like to have one beer and then fall asleep at 3 p.m. Unless we're in Spain, and then we can have the siesta, and then we can keep going at night.
I saw all those photos, by the way, too. I was just like, that looks sick. Spain's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Fantastic.
Have you been?
Yeah. Me and Cole, one of our best friends, moved to Spain, just dropped, from here, moved to Spain, learned Spanish.
Wait, what?
He lives in Madrid now.
Oh my gosh.
He's been there for 2.5 years.
Hola. That was really bad Spanish. But yeah, it was amazing. And wherever I am. So we were drinking Spanish beer while we were there. And whenever I'm on the road, I like to drink local beers as well.
Yep.
So I have another friend. He does he's like a beat writer not for the Eagles, but he did cover Penn State football. Yeah. But it seems like the whole sports reporting industry, it's like because you're traveling from city to city, it's like, sports and beer go together. So everyone, it's like all the sports reporters I talk to always have the insights of the best bars to go to, best beer to get at each place.
Because we're lonely and we like to, spend our per diem on important things like alcohol. That's what it comes down to.
Definitely.
Maybe I'm speaking for too many people, but I know a lot of people who do that. It's just a fun way because otherwise you're just in a different hotel room in a different city every other night, and that gets really boring.
Just going to Chili's every single night, it's not that exciting. You have to embrace the local culture.
Do I want Bud Light? Do I want Miller Lite? I mean, I will go for a High Life often, especially during the summer. There's something just celebratory about that beer. But yeah, so getting back to your question about, West Coast, that was as we discussed earlier, just a big reason that I got into beer, because in the early 2000s, that was like the craft scene was exploding again, as I found out from Tara's book. Like
Every generation gets to invent
yeah, it was the 70s and then it was the 80s, but it was so cool because so much of it was in the San Francisco Bay Area and then Oregon and Seattle, and I have lots of friends in both of those places. So like I've either tasted or been to a tasting room where a lot of really famous beers are from, which is really cool. And now the fact that I'm back here and getting to discover so many places that we don't have it all on the West Coast, because they at least weren't distributing a couple years ago. They may be now, but so again, it's been like learning a whole new language, and that's East Coast beer. So.
Definitely. We talked a little bit before we started recording. So I saw you on the What's Brewing, and you
I appreciate that.
drinking
What's up?
the
Shout out to Glenn.
Shout out Glenn
And Joe.
We'd love to have Glenn and Joe on the podcast,
Yes.
and Lou.
Yeah.
But you guys were drinking the Mexican beers, so Mexico close. What
They were throwing shade left and right.
I
on
know,
my
I
Mexican
know.
beers. I was like, guys, come on.
they were saying, like Mexican beers are all the same, but like American lagers are all the same too.
Thank you. Exactly. A lot of lagers or pilsners or whatever, if you don't get really creative, a lot of them taste the same. But I appreciate, especially now, because I like to drink my Mexican lagers in bodies of water throughout the summer, because
Yes.
again, they're crisp and they're refreshing and they're often low alcohol, so you can drink a lot of them. But yeah, we were talking before that you're a Victoria and
Victoria
Negra Modelo.
and Modelo Negra. Those are my two Mexican beers, and those
Love
are the
it.
beers that you brought on.
Cheers, friend. I'm going to steal some of your Workhorse, I think, since I'm trying to road
You
you.
try a little
Or should
bit of
I try another one?
Sure.
The lime, what is that? Was this Attic Brewing?
This is added.
Yeah, I haven't had an attic yet.
Oh yeah.
The Attic's up in Germantown. It's a great brewery.
All right.
Yeah, they do really well. Some of the like they have a ton of medals for a bunch of their beers.
I follow them on the socials. Fat Little Brown. Yeah. Oh.
And then I saw, what was the other one? Oh, you went on the other episode that you did What's Brewing. You brought the Dry Hop Prima Pills.
I've done a lot of drinking so
Yes.
far on camera here in Philly, which in other towns probably wouldn't be the best idea, but I feel like it's a great thing to do here. But you had something to do with that beer, right?
So I was part of the innovation team there, and that was like one of the recipes that I made. I'm like, oh my God, Kate Scott's my girl.
That's
She's
so cool,
drinking
man.
all my
you
beer.
gotta pour yourself something now. Come on, get yourself something.
There we go. I got a little bit.
There you
Catch
go.
Back up.
There you go. Get in here too. Get in here too. All right. Yeah, that's awesome.
But I guess like what that experience on What's Brewing. I mean, we look up to them like, it's a little bit different. It's a TV show, not a podcast.
Yeah.
But they've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
I guess you're used to being in front of the camera, but they set up theirs like so kind of.
But they just blow through it. Glenn is. I try to be one take Kate, as we call it, because again, everybody in the crew gets there before All and I get there and leaves after us, right? Because they're setting stuff up and they're having to strike or take stuff down. Like we have the cushiest part of the job. We get there 2.5 hours before the game. We're on camera. We call the game. We go home. Everybody else is still breaking stuff down.
That's my job here.
Exactly.
They do the editing. I chill and drink beer with people.
So I learned early in my career, like try to be one take. Just do your open once and try to crush it, so that everybody who's working longer hours than you has to spend as little time as possible with you. And Glenn is just like one take Glenn, but like blowing through stuff. And I was like, Glenn, I think I might have had something in my teeth. He's like, don't worry about it, Kate. All right, let's go to block B. So yeah, those guys are even more professional than I am, which is impressive.
That's fun. I've seen you on drinking beer on the podcast or on the like on TV. I saw you on like in a pink blazer. But it seemed like it was almost like
Speaking of Philly,
yes,
yeah.
it was almost like not that it was planned, but it was just like all right, what it was like a positive thing. Like you think like drinking a beer on TV would be like a negative thing, but it's just like no, let's show Kate doing this. It's like I think that it was a great look.
Oh, thank you for saying that. It was an out-of-body experience, what Richie is referencing. For those of you who for some reason have not heard yet, I'm glad that it hasn't gotten that far. I think it was year 2 we played the Nets in the first round. Yeah, because then last year was the Knicks, and then this past year was nobody. So it was, we had home court advantage, and it was the first game of the playoffs, and like the playoffs just have a different atmosphere. The Wells Fargo Center is always rocking,
Yeah.
but it goes up to another level. Although I guess I'm not going to call it the Wells Fargo Center very soon. But, and I was we called the game from like 30 rows up in section 112, and I was running up the stairs, and we're usually like high-fiving people, and I'm crazy stupid, so I'm yelling, "Let's go Sixers!" And I'm just being a weirdo like I always am. And this dude is just standing in the aisle with a fresh pint and it really felt like, I used to run track and field. It felt like he was just passing me the baton. He actually had no clue what hit him. He was looking in a completely different direction, but I just grabbed it. I didn't drink the whole thing.
Hey, that cost $12.
I didn't drink exactly. I was like, sorry, bro, I'll give you 20. Don't worry about it. And I just took a big swig and then continued yelling. And I should have known. Again, there's cameras everywhere these days, but I was just in the moment and going up, crushed our open. Let's call, the first playoff game of the season. And yes, apparently a couple of people took pictures. And note to selfie, going to do something like that. Guys, this especially applies to you. Don't wear a bright pink blazer so that you stand out and people get pictures. But I think it was getting back to slowly, hopefully winning over Philadelphia.
Oh.
I also knew that
It's the playoffs too.
my bosses are probably going to be a little pissed off, and this will probably be a private conversation, but it's going to be one of those worth it moments because
Definitely.
I was just truly being myself, and it's Philly. So I knew, might have been a different story if I was in another city, but I knew I was in a safe space here.
Cool. All right. I do want to talk about Madden though.
Oh, you do?
So before you came here, you asked how your day was going. You recorded 2 hours of Madden.
Yep. Had a Madden sesh this afternoon.
Is
Got
that
another
like an
one
everyday
tomorrow.
thing? It's just like you're kind of plugging in and
No, thankfully. But 2 to 3 days a week at times. But it can be really stressful on my voice, understandably, because so Brock Heward is my partner in the game, and we have some joint sessions, but I have a lot more solo sessions because the play-by-play announcer has a lot more lines in the video game. And if it's high-intensity stuff, it can strain your voice. If I'm calling touchdowns for 35 minutes, my voice can get a little scratchy. And one of the things about the game is it doesn't matter if I was recording in December of 2023 or in May of 2024 or now July of 20, it has to sound the same because the lines have to match up. So they're very thankfully protective of my voice. So 2 sessions this week, 2 sessions last week. I think we have 3 next week. And then during the season, which we often record, they try to, if the Sixers went to overtime the night before, we'll do easier lines the next day. Or if we have a day scheduled, we might push it later in the week if there was a really intense Sixers game the night before. So, yeah, it's been wild, man. That was probably way too in-depth, but I'm just I'm the biggest nerd about it.
No,
I think
it's
so
cool
fascinating.
because you have you obviously have a unique job, but because you're almost like an athlete where you have to protect your voice.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same thing with a surgeon is almost the same way. I've thought about this before. A surgeon is you need to be able to operate.
Yeah.
And my mom asked me if I broke my leg, what would I do? I'm not brewing beer right now, but if I broke my leg, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, it's a huge part of your job.
Yeah,
it's successful in
so
your
it's,
career.
it's cool that it's a job where you have to be knowledgeable. You also there's a physical aspect to it. It's a unique thing that people don't think about.
Yeah, it's totally. And I've had to pay, obviously, even much more attention to it now that I'm calling things that a lot
nonstop.
A lot more people are paying attention to, and nonstop, because there's times where I'll have, we'll have Sixers games Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'll have a Madden session on Tuesday. So that's really calling 4 games in 5 days.
Yeah.
And you guys know I get fairly excited on broadcasts. So, I've had to take a lot more care. On the drive over here, I was drinking some tea, with honey in it, throat coat tea, just to try to. I had a pretty intense 2-hour session today for Madden, and I wanted to sound good and not scratchy. And one of the things that I'm working on right now, I'm sure those of you who are super nerds have heard me kind of get a growl in my voice calling things for the Sixers, like Tyrese Maxey. But sometimes I get a growl in my voice, and at times it's natural, and that's fine. But we've learned through the Madden recording, sometimes I can get kind of a little growly in an attempt to keep my voice low, which I often do because it's me and a bunch of male voices. So to try to blend, try to keep it lower, and the growl can sound like a little bit fake. So this is way inside voice knowledge, and I'll just stop the story there. But so if I work it too hard, that's one of the effects of it, is that it can get growly, and we try to prevent that.
Are you doing the Seahawks again?
I am, yeah. So thanks for fitting me in before flying out. Yeah, it's going to be a fun preseason. They're hosting the Raiders first week, hosting
fun.
the Chiefs the second week, although very few of the stars will play. And then I have to go to Lambeau Field, call a Seahawks Packers game in Green Bay. Yeah, life sucks, guys. It's friggin' awful. So I'll have some spotted cow when I'm in Wisconsin at their nicest hotel, which is pretty much like an Embassy Suites that they turned into something nicer. But that's cool. It takes me back to childhood. But yeah, I'll probably have a Juicy Lucy. You guys know those burgers, right? With like the cheese cooked into the burger. Again, I try to eat local
I've
too.
never been to.
Yeah, so you're not missing out. It's truly like the smallest town. Green Bay is wild. Pick a small town here in Pennsylvania, and truly like there's a street of houses, and then Lambeau Field, and then a street of houses on the other side, and people just rent out their front yards, rent out their driveways. It's a collegial atmosphere, and it happens to be one of the most famous NFL stadiums.
One of the biggest brewing suppliers in the country, Breweries, is located up there. There's a town next to it. It's where you remember Making a Murder on Netflix?
I do.
So the town next to that is next to Green Bay.
Okay.
And it was the beer there is amazing. The food is amazing.
It's good.
But it is a little bit different up there.
It's different, but I love that. Again, I love learning about new things, whether it's people or beer or sports. And I am looking forward to the Green Bay, Wisconsin airport is very tiny, as you guys can expect. There's no directs from Philly to Green Bay. So, and last time the radio crew for the Seahawks, who I've gotten to be really good friends with, because in the NFL, all the television broadcasts throughout the season are national, right? It's always on CBS or NBC on Sunday night or Fox or whatever. So it's really the radio crew, like Merrill, who as a football fan you fall in love with and you get connected to, because there's no TV crew to get connected to locally. So I wasn't sure, coming in 3 years ago what those guys would think of me, but once I started drinking beer and talking sports and chicks, they were in. So, we actually played Green Bay in Green Bay my first preseason 3 years ago, and they got kicked off the charter flight back to Seattle because so many Seahawks super fans wanted to be on the flight. So we're just hanging out at this little airport bar, and I was like, "All right, spotted cows on me, guys. Here we go. Come on, use my per diem up." And we just hung out, and none of us were driving for a number of hours, so we got a little happy on some spotted cow and some really shitty flatbreads at the Green Bay, Wisconsin airport. But that's one of my favorite parts of what I do. Obviously, I feel so lucky. I'm a sports fanatic, but they become our road families because we spend so much time with the people we work with versus our actual families.
Yeah,
sure.
It's incessant to travel. So it's moments like that I love.
So with all your travels, because I'm assuming you've traveled almost everywhere, at least in the U.S.
In the U.S., yeah.
What are, and we're not going to be biased at all, what are some of your favorite beer cities, I guess?
Ooh, favorite beer cities. Philadelphia, obviously, because I'm going to pander as often as I can. But also, we have such great beer here, and so many great craft breweries, and so many woman-owned breweries, and black-owned breweries. I went to 2 locals last year. It was so good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I love the variety of ownership and brewers and everything we have here in Philly. Chicago has some pretty good beer as well, although I did get into an embarrassing kind of fight with a server who asked for, what locals they had. And she said Lagunitas, and I was like, girl. I was like, don't be that girl talking to this girl telling me that Lagunitas is freaking local to Chicago. And then afterwards, I got back to the hotel, and apparently Lagunitas has a brewery now or something. They've transitioned a huge chunk. And I was like, oh, I was that asshole who was I was mansplaining to this woman. Anyway, obviously San Francisco and Oakland. I lived in SF for 10 years. I lived in Oakland for 5. But the other West Coast cities that I mentioned, Seattle has a great scene. Portland has a really great scene.
Yeah. You've hit the 4 biggest beer cities in the country.
Yeah, but Tampa, I went to Ybor City a number of years ago covering a women's Final Four, and it was cigars and beer. And I was like, let's stay in Ybor City, guys. And I don't know, we were some Holiday Inn Express, my producer and our cameraman, but we had such a fun time. I was like, boys, we're smoking cigars, we're drinking local beers, we're singing karaoke. Oh yeah, it was good because the team we went crashed out in the semifinal of the NCAA championship. So we were like, I guess we're here another night, so we should just take advantage. So yeah, I think, and one of the cool things now in 2025, I think, is that 15 years ago, you had to be in a big city to have a good craft beer scene. But now, you probably know, all it takes is one craft brewer to inspire a couple of other people. And then it seems like there's great camaraderie among
everywhere.
brewers, and then it's like, okay, show me what you're using. What did you do? And then you just start to create this community. And again, it's just hanging out, brewing beer together, and tasting and competing, and which I think is awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we bring on a few guests, and it all comes back to a few key players that started the entire scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing that happens. And I don't know other industries that are.
We talked about with Tara, it's like you can map everything. Like everyone is connected, but everyone, like there's some people that were key players from the beginning that.
Yeah, which is really cool. Yeah, that's our last promo for Tara's book. They didn't tell me to bring this on, but as you can see, I actually have my old school bookmark. I'm on page 135, and it's been fascinating. I love the way she laid out the book too, in that, like, you know, it starts and ends ancient Mesopotamia in chapter 1, but then it goes to like San Francisco in 1970, and then it goes to Egypt in ancient times, and then it goes to Portland in 1980. So I love history. Obviously, I've said that 45 times in this podcast. But I thought it was really cool how it does say all the things and does it in an entertaining fashion. So, yeah.
So before we do, this is like a microcosm of your job. Like before we do podcasts, I like research the people, try to figure out some stuff. But you have a season coming up with the Sixers. You know, obviously VJ Edgecombe is coming. Do you
That's gonna be a fun name, isn't it?
like are in your daily
I'm
life?
not gonna reveal any nicknames I've come up with in my head yet, but I have been playing around.
That's a
Usually
thing.
drinking. Yeah, I never.
Do you have a notes app? How do you do it? Do you have a notes app? 'Cause, like when I'm thinking of beer names or like things to say on the podcast, I have my notes app.
Okay. I
it's
definitely
very
have
unorganized place in my notes app.
I have a note that is just things I think about saying, and then I'm usually a hand writer as well. Like throughout the season, I have a little journal that I'll just take with me to shoot-arounds and practices. And usually I go to those and just kind of fake call the game in my head too to see what I come up with, you know, because a lot of stuff, as you know, you're like, that actually really sucks. That's so lame. Don't ever say that out loud to anybody.
It sounds great till it comes out of your mouth. And you're
exactly, and then you try it in the pool drinking a beer, and you're like, wow, that was awful. Never say that
See
again.
myself out.
Exactly. So as you were saying, VJ Edgecombe, Chimay Broom, and then a bunch of other guys that we have signed. But what's the question? I'm not going to jump to any conclusions.
No, it was like about the nicknames, but you're not going to reveal any of those. You're going to save it for the listeners, but we're saving for the games. But it's got to be interesting, like you're like thinking about all these fun things to say.
Yeah, it's very fun. And I did learn in my first couple of years, like I thought Bang Bang George Niang was going to be the lamest thing that was going to get me laughed off the air, and you guys completely surprised me. And it got to the point where people were literally screaming at George and me. They were not saying hello. They would just be like, bang, 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 George Niang. And then they would say that to me, too. There was no hi, Kate. It was no go Sixers. People would just scream that at me, which I freaking loved, and it was amazing. So I learned sometimes you just have to try stuff, because stuff that I thought was going to be really stupid, people have latched on to.
Just throw it out there.
Exactly. So there's some BJ things. There's some, I mean, come on, the last name Broom. And you're a defensive guy. And you're also good from three. Like there's going to be some really cheeky mom dad jokes coming out, and we'll see if you all like them. But yeah, and Jared got hurt so early in the season. I had some stuff that I wanted to roll out for Jared McCain.
He's so fun too. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with him.
So fun, and obviously Tyrese. So
it's nice to see. I mean, so I can say anything as like a diehard Sixers fan from the beginning.
Yeah.
I lived through the process. I grew up through the process. So I've seen
Cheers, friend. We should drink to that.
Yeah,
I almost wore my process shirt, but I was like, no, I'm just gonna keep it general, go sports tonight.
But seeing Tyrese Maxey, seeing McCain, and seeing like just Edgecombe, like you feel good right now. You got to feel good right now.
Good.
And like Embiid is an idol to a lot of players, like a lot of people around here. But it's just you feel good about the youth piece to it.
Good,
good as well.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I feel that way, and I think people should feel that way. Richie,
Is a better situation? Last year, the last couple of years, like the expectations have been so high. We were like, we know we're going to let it down. It's almost like this year. It's like we can build upon this. It feels like we are moving in the right direction because we are down here.
Wood?
Yeah.
After some unfortunate injury news the last couple of days. But yeah, I mean, I think. In January, February last season, where we all kind of figured out, okay, this is going to
be different
suck for the next couple of months. Allah, whose first year was the 10-72 season, talk about coming into.
Yeah.
He was like, "Girl, you are doing great." Everybody blamed the demise of the franchise on me when I first got here, and I was like, I mean, kind of understandably, bro, you won 10 games. We obviously get along very well, but he said that last year was almost more difficult than that because you all knew what it was going to be, what the process was, what you were trusting, that it was going to be really difficult, and that you were going to get through it. Whereas last year, I mean, I remember saying on a number of podcasts at the start of the season, if we stay healthy, and that was the big thing, as it was, we've got a shot to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So it was because of the difference, I think, in expectations that last year's trouble and losses and disappointment hit so hard. Allah was like, man, this year is way harder than that because we knew that we were going to
This year is like every win that we get is going to be like, nice, we got the win.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Last year was like, we should have gotten that.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's easier as a Sixers fan to have, it sounds sad, but like less expectations sometimes. And then as you see the season move, then you're like, it's up momentum build.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Versus, last year was tough with injuries right off the bat.
Understandably so. So I'm rooting for the Eagles and the Phillies and the Flyers to again continue playing well. No pressure, guys. But if you could keep playing well, I was rooting very hard for the Eagles. Just keep it going another week, guys. If you want to make it to that Super Bowl again and win it, I would be completely okay with that. But
you must see the fans like there's just less. There's less pressure on the teams, on just everybody, I guess, from behind the scenes too, like everything.
Yeah, totally. So you guys know at this point I am a very positive, naturally, strangely optimistic person. But I feel so deeply now for all of you. Like I know I haven't had my heart ripped out as many times as you have. I mean, the Celtics did a few years ago. I felt like that was my christening as a real Philly sports fan. Like, I still don't understand how we lost that game 6. So having my heart ripped out, I was like, okay, now I feel like I can be here for a long time. I've had my heart ripped out of my chest and stomped on and run over by a semi-truck with all of you. So this feels good. But so I feel for all of you because I know how hard it is to have your team either seem like they're going to have a great season and not, or be having a great season and then a star player gets hurt. You know, like I grew up a San Francisco Giants fan, and there was a lot of good players, and Will Clark and Barry Bonds, and this is going to be the year. No, this is going to be the year. No, this is, and there was always something, and we were always the team that never got it done. So I relate to that, and now being so in love with this city and the guys that I cover, like I just want it so bad for all of you. So hopefully the young guys get up to a good start.
So you came up through in like the Bay Area when Golden State was like coming up.
Yeah.
Was that an exciting time to be there?
Gosh, it was so fun. And I worked for the Warriors radio flagship station. So it was incredible because they, again, and that was one of the stories I told in my interview and audition here, like the Warriors hadn't won in 40 years.
Yeah.
And I know we're a few years past that now for the Sixers.
They were a franchise you never even thought about.
Oh my gosh, I distinctly remember getting offered courtside mid-court tickets in college when I was at Cal because the Oakland Coliseum where the guys kind of played, Oakland Arena, and Berkeley were just a BART ride, like a SEPTA ride away. It was like 20 minutes. So it's super easy. On campus, BART stop, and then at the Coliseum, BART stop. So literally, it was so easy. And they offered them to me for free. And I turned them down. Because I think it was like $2 beer night at the Bears Lair or something. I was like, thank you so much for the courtside Warriors tickets, but there's cheap beer on campus, so I'm just going to stay here tonight. So that's how bad they were. And yeah, it was just nothing forever. And then, again, the interesting thing, which maybe relates to this year for the Sixers, is they had Monte Ellis, who they thought was their big guard star. Yep. They traded for David Lee, who was a New York Knick, who they thought was going to be the guy to get them there. Yep. And then this little cat comes along, Stephen Curry, who they expected to be a role player and a piece, but nobody there expected him to be what he is now. And I try not to make too many comparisons, but I started covering Steph in his second year with the Warriors, and when I got here was year 2 for Tyrese Maxey, and I don't think Tyrese is going to be the best shooter in the world like Steph. He will always hold that mantle, but so much of the way Tyrese carries himself on and off the floor, his work ethic.
You also can't take your eyes off him when he's got the ball in his hand.
So fun. He's such a joy, right?
So much fun. And that's something that the team really needed.
Yeah.
He gave such an energy. Yeah, the city needed a player like him to give an energy. And then even like McCain in his short showing, and just like, oh, it's almost like it piled on top of
Right.
kind of what Maxi's bringing along.
Yeah, and both similar to Steph, and Steph was who Jared grew up in California idolizing and watching. Like, it's easy to forget because Jared played 2.5 months for us, but he is so good at moving off the ball, just like Steph is, and getting guys freaking tired by the second quarter that they don't want to defend him anymore. So he's getting open shots, but they play with such a joy, but they're also just freaking assassins on the court, right? And also really hard workers, which I think are three things that Philly completely
Definitely.
leans into, right? If you're going to work your tail off, if you're going to smile after you just slit somebody's throat on the court, and you're also going to love us as a city, which both guys do, even though they're not from here. So yeah, now you guys are getting me excited. Let's stay healthy, everyone.
Yeah.
And Justin Edwards, the local kid. Hopefully, we can bring a couple of guys back. So
Something we were talking about earlier that needed to come up. We're so excited for the new WNBA team that they announced.
awesome.
So, what do you think some names might be?
I'm shocked actually that this one seemingly hasn't been brought up by anyone before. I've heard some ones that make me want to punch some people in the face, but I don't know where we are when it comes to those being close, so I'm gonna not say anything. I mean, I love the Philly Rage because that's a throwback to the team with Dawn on it. But if you guys know the W at all, there's a lot of team names without an S, right? The New York Liberty, the Phoenix Mercury, the Seattle Storm. Like, it's a lot of that. And I know that Nashville and Tennessee is trying to get a team, and they have talked about what I think would be an amazing name in honor of Pat Summitt, that they would name it either the Nashville or the Tennessee Summit. Like, I think the Philly Dawn, in honor of Dawn Staley, could be pretty cool.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
And the taglines, right? Like, dawning of a new era here in Philly.
Yeah, I like that.
It's always darkest before the dawn. So I think I think that should be at least thrown in there. I think the Philly Dawn could be really cool, and color schemes could be awesome.
Funny. You think of things as like taglines that you can say.
Totally. Again, getting back to the notes app and in my head. I think the Philly Bells is really cool. I know some folks think that I've heard some people say that's like too girly or too feminine, but of course
It's so Philadelphia, though.
But it works. It does work really well.
And I could see it. I could see it with like the starting five with their arms crossed, just looking like chicks that you do not want to mess with, being like, "We'll ring your bell," right? Like the tagline, like the Philly Bells, "Come on, try to ring us," or something like that. But I mean, Independence, Liberty. There's so many amazing names, right? So, what about you guys? What are your favorites so far?
I was thinking. I thought the Bells. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know how much it couldn't work, but
Yeah.
it just feels kind of right
Yeah.
too. I don't know. And then I've seen a lot like the Philadelphia John. You know that one's not gonna happen, but like
No, but
all
maybe-
over Instagram, like that's the official name. Right
Maybe that's like the city edition jersey. Maybe that's the alternate kit, as we call it. But yeah, I know that people obviously in marketing and stuff are way smarter than me, and I'm sure that this has probably already been decided. But I think the fact that we are talking about it is so cool. Just the fact that we are talking so much more now about women's sports is awesome. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. I think this city is going to embrace this team.
Yeah.
So much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Partially maybe because the Sixers have been so recently.
Well,
so
the hope, right, is that it's 5 years from now, and I'm actually really happy that they have 5 years to get prepared for all of this, because a lot goes into launching a new franchise, which I got to see in the Bay Area because I have a number of friends who were involved with launching the Golden State Valkyries. And
Is the ownership the Sixers ownership, or how does that work? You have to find another ownership group?
So a lot of the ownership here is part of the Sixers ownership. I'm sure they'll take on, I'm not sure, but I imagine they'll take on a few more owners over the next 5 years who really want to be involved, but they'll probably be minority ownership. So yeah, it's Josh Harris and the HBSC and the Sixers ownership, which is awesome.
Yeah,
But I'm excited that because 5 years, I think building kind of
Oh, yeah.
the momentum, and I think the W is just going to grow. So
totally,
it's gonna be
totally.
awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Do you have anything else?
Nothing specific.
No.
And you guys are out of beer, so
We are out of beer.
it's time to go.
It's
Or
time to go.
at least roll out and get some more beer.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for coming on. It's been awesome. I've been listening to you now for 4 or 5 years. How long is it?
4 years.
4
guys.
years.
This is year 5.
That is special.
Let's win us some games.
Yes.
Huh?
Oh my gosh.
Let's go.
Let's get that's what I was going to say.
I'm
Let's
used
get
to
the
doing.
Sixers.
I'm used to drinking beer and listening to you, but it's a little bit different when I can talk
But
to you.
doing it together, right?
Yeah.
No, this is awesome. Like I said at the start of the podcast, I have been watching and listening to you guys for a while. I love what you're doing. I love the craft beer scene. So thanks for having me on, and let's go Sixers, baby.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
let's go
you.
Sixers.
And where can we find you if you want to follow you at?
Oh, does anybody want to find me? Yeah, since there is another Kate Scott in sports broadcasting
Yes.
now. That, Kate Abdo, how dare she get married? No, so I am, thankfully, I've always been Kate and the letter T Scott. So Kate T Scott on Instagram is really it these days. And I'll probably hop back on Blue Sky once the season starts. But
Cool.
I'm off of social media right now.
Cool.
Trying to drink beer and live
Plans,
life.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. The social media plans.
Yeah.
With loggers and pints and
Yes.
stuff.
Nice. You can find us at BrewedAt, at the BrewedAt podcast. Subscribe on YouTube,
5-star Spotify.
Spotify. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was awesome.